Well, good morning to you. I'm out here in the cut flower garden, and it is a nice, cool day. I don't know the temperature, but it is on the lower part of June. It's June 24th, and I've got this fan blowing on me, so it almost feels like air conditioned. It is wet out here. I was sweating a little bit, just a little bit. I'm soaking wet. But anyway, hey, I am Denise from Brazil Farms. We are a flower farm, garden, nursery, teaching garden, and just a little bit of everything. And I hopefully am here to encourage you on whatever your goals are, to go forward in them and not to get discouraged, but to encourage you from the perspective of someone that loves to be outside and who likes to be in the garden with her flowers. I strongly believe we were each given gifts. And if you don't know what your gift is, think about it. I remember being in college, and at that point, flowers were not on my radar whatsoever, because I would change chores with my two sisters for them to do the outdoor chores, and I would do the indoor chores. Mainly because TV, I love TV, and I could do the indoor chores at commercials. Very lazy person growing up. I call it lazy. I just was, I guess, not ambitious. Ooh, got one of our honeybees up here checking me out. Anytime I've been pulling weeds a lot, I get pollen all over me, and they really come check me out. And sometimes, like this one just landed on me. I don't know if you can see it. She's looking for pollen, and oftentimes they will really stay with me for a while and just cover themselves with the pollen that I have all over me, even though I had on gloves. So I'm not sure, maybe she can still smell it, but she's not getting any. If she came up on my arm, she'd probably get up. Anyway, just when I was growing up, didn't have ambition, didn't know what to do. I just didn't know I was supposed to do certain things. And so it's good to live with or be around different people, so you go, hey, wait, I don't do that. That's why I learned to, I need to learn to do that. But anyway, I digress. As I, whoa, okay, she got a little too, she didn't sting me, but she got a little too close. Maybe that, I don't know what. Maybe she got a little bit too active. What your gift is. She's on this hand now. What your gift is. I remember being in college, and I had taken some art classes. I had taken, art classes in high school and stuff, but just not something that I enjoyed it a great deal, but I never thought that's something that I'll do or even study. But you had to take electives, so I took some art classes. And what I found is I could be up at 2 o'clock in the morning and still working on that, and not even realize it was 2 o'clock in the morning. And if any of you know me, I am an early bird. I am dragging butt by 9 o'clock. And here, since we wake up so early here, I'm dragging butt by 8 o'clock. But anyway, so that should have been a hint to me, something that's productive. Now, like I said, I like watching TV, and that was not productive, just sitting there watching TV. So it needs to be productive. It needs to be a benefit to others. And it's something you just lose thought and time with, and that you do with ease. I grew up in a household that decorated. We would decorate our rooms. My mother, she would decorate the house, throughout the year and change things. And so I grew up thinking everybody could decorate. Now, is that a gift or a skill that has been given to all three of her daughters, or taught? I don't know. But I have come to find out not everybody can decorate. And so when something comes somewhat easy to you and it's a benefit to others, that is probably a gift you've been given. And your job is to turn that gift into a skill and grow that skill on a daily basis, and then give it to the world. I'm a strong believer in Christ, and I believe He's the one that gave it to me. But that's the thing about God's laws. His laws are not just for those that believe in Him. And so He has given us gifts, everybody, believer or not. And we're trying to turn those gifts into skills. And those skills will not only benefit the world, they'll also benefit us. He says that you will stand before kings. And literally, will you? Some of you will. Some people have. But most of us will get higher and higher in that field. And so that's one of God's universal laws, is that our mandates. He has said, you need to turn this into a skill. And I'm a firm believer in that. Well, flowers came into my world. I had been married, and I, for some reason, I actually know right before that, I was living in Charlotte, North Carolina, downtown, in a cute little bungalow. And I was in charge of keeping care of the flower beds. My two roommates had boyfriends, and they cut the grass for us. So the other two girls didn't do anything, but the guys cut the grass for us. And my job was to take care of the flower beds, which actually wasn't hard at all. So I definitely had a pretty easy job. And all I did was buy a couple of flowers to make it, most of it was greenery and shrubs and stuff because we were renting. And so the owners, had put some shrubbery in there to make it look nice. And that's when my first flower that I bought, that I realized. And it's funny because looking back in time, there's several different flower things that really stuck with me. And so if you do not know where your gifting is, it's things like that. Like we had down the street from us in this neighborhood had a nursery, and it was not part of our neighborhood, but the driveway was. And so I don't know how often we went there. As a kid, sometimes you think, I've done this a lot, and you really only did it twice. So I don't know how often we went there, but that place is imprinted on my mind. And it's things like that you should take note of. That, hey, that's my gift. That's what I need to do. And that's where I need to go forward. And so over the years, plants have just kept coming back to me. I studied herbs for years, just on my own, not professionally or anything like that. But I did that, sort of before it was popular. Now it's popular and a lot more known, but studied herbs, thought it was fascinating. And it's just interesting how life keeps bringing that skill back up, that gift God's given me is this relationship with plants. Sometimes the relationship is quite aggravating, but it's still my gift, and it still brings me joy, and it's still what gets me out here at 4 o'clock in the morning when I literally, in all seriousness, I am soaking wet. Part of it is sweat, part of it is just the wetness in here. And yet, and I try my best not to complain, but I do complain a lot about the weather. But yet, what do I choose to do? Be out here in this crazy weather with these plants that, with bugs that want to kill them and stuff. And so, if you find yourself in a situation, you might want to think, hey, is that what I'm supposed to be doing? I think it is. It's crazy. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know if it's worth it, but I can't stop thinking about it. And I think it benefits people. The look on people's faces when they see these flowers, it just does something to me. And even if they don't buy it, and that's what is fascinating to me. Of course, I want them to buy, but even if they don't buy, the look of joy that they have on these flowers. And while I do take pride in the fact that these are really pretty flowers, I know I didn't create them. I know that I have a Father in heaven that gave them to us just for our joy. He created this whole world for our joy. And that gives me so much excitement. And I think that's what all of our gifts are supposed to do. And this world is waiting for you to develop your skill. You can look back over history and you look at all these great people that have done great things because they developed their skill or their passion. I mean, people call it different things, but sometimes people aren't great known. I don't know if you've ever read the book. That's one thing I loved about homeschooling is I got to learn twice. But The Snowflake Man, I think is the name of it. I'm not really sure. But he is the man that he had such a passion for snowflakes. He is the first photographer. I'm pretty positive he's the first. I know he had the largest collection of snowflakes. He lived in Maine. I could be getting all the details like that little part. He lived in New England, and but he documented all these different snowflakes and made a camera so he could catch it, while it was still frozen, and he was able to find out that they grow, these snowflakes are all so different. And he was the first person to do that. To my knowledge, I mean, he was known, locally. People would come by and look at him, and who's that crazy man out there during the snow taking pictures of snowflakes type of person. But I know who he is now, hundreds of years later, and to people that now study weather, I don't know if there are people that study snowflakes all the time, but anyway, people that study that, he set the foundation for it because he was driven to take these pictures. And so just think about your town. Who is known? They're not flashy, they're not big. I went to church for years. She was part of my salvation story with a woman named Brenda, and she's a teacher, and I'm talking like she's past tense, but I don't think she is. But she always had a pencil behind her ear. And she was a teacher, and she was an organizer, and she was known so much in that community for the gifts that she gave back. And her organization and her teaching were what I would consider her gifts. And she affected my life, and so as you are reaching for these goals that you have, make sure they're the right goals for the right reason. Money should never be your objective. Money will come. or live within the money that you have. I understand the desire to have all this money. It makes life a lot easier as far as basic needs. But if you're losing sleep, if you are anxious about things, if your life tethers on one decision, you might want to consider tweaking that or changing it completely. Goals in this life should be fun, should be a little dangerous, should be hard. They're going to be hard. I do. My complaining that I do on here is not just to complain. It's hard work, and so it's going to be hard. And know that going into it and conquer it. I get so excited when it's 5:30, because that means I'm finished pulling weeds, and that's the hardest part of my day, is getting out here early in the morning knowing I am going to be filthy and that I am going to be soaking wet, and knowing too that this will turn into something much easier. Yesterday I was able we have a personal, or I call it teaching garden, potager over there that I mulched heavily with grass clippings and leaves in the fall, and this is June, and this is my first time weeding it, and where there's weeds, the mulch is thin, and so that's my fault. But once I get this to that point, weeding, like, it took me an hour to do the entire thing, and today it took me an hour to go just in a straight line with the holes aren't much bigger than this, but the weeds that can come out of that took me a long time to do a quarter of a row. And so that's discouraging, but it will get there. It will get there. And so I feel like I'm just babbling on and on, so I'm going to get off here now. But I do want to encourage you to seek your gift that you've been given and turn that gift into a skill and give that skill back to the world. Okay? You have a great day. Bye.